Okay, 5.4 is over standard form. It's a different form of writing equations. We've already talked about two forms. The two forms we've talked about are slope-intercept, which is y equals mx plus b, and then we've talked quite a bit about point-slope form, y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. And we can get from here to there by eliminating the parentheses and then isolating the y, getting y by itself. Okay, the last form we're going to learn in this chapter is standard form. Okay, standard form of an equation of the line is ax plus by equals c. Okay, now there's some conditions for a, b, and c, and that's why they're written with capital letters and not little a, little b, little c. Okay, first rule is no fractions or decimals. Okay, now that doesn't mean there's never going to be fractions or decimals. It means if there are, you need to get rid of them. And the second rule is that a will be positive. So if I'm writing an equation and my x term is negative, then I'm going to multiply by -1 or divide everything by -1, but the x term needs to be positive. Okay? Example 1 says write an equation in standard form. It says write in standard form of an equation of the line passing through -3, 2 with a slope of -4. It says use integer coefficients, and what that means is, like I said above there, when they say integers, that means no fractions and no decimals. Okay? So if they give me the point and the slope, we should use point-slope form. Okay, so we're going to substitute -4 for m, -3 for x sub 1, and 2 for y sub 1. Okay, so it's going to be y minus 2 equals -4, and then they always have this little extra part here, x minus -3. Okay, so what do we do when we see this minus and -3? Becomes x plus 3. Now if you see standard form, again, is ax plus by equals c. There aren't any parentheses in standard form, so we will get rid of the parentheses first by distributing the -4. So we're going to keep the y minus 2 on the left side. -4 times x is -4x. -4 times positive 3 is -12. Okay, now if you look at standard form, we want the x and the y both on the left side. So that means this -4x needs to go over here, and this -2 needs to come over here. Now on this thing, what they're doing is they're going to go ahead and add 2 to both sides. They're going to get it in slope-intercept form first. So we're going to y by itself. So if I add 2 to -12, that gives me -10. So now I'm in slope-intercept form. My last step to get this in standard form would be to take this -4x and add it to the left side. Now I would add it because it's negative. When it changes sides, it changes sign. So this -4x is going to be positive 4x on the left side. We have a positive y already over here, so that's plus y. And then what's left on the right side? -10. Okay, so this is ax plus by equals c, standard form. Okay, we have a couple checkpoints. What you should probably do here is go ahead and pause the video and try one of these, and then when you're done, you can start the video back up and you can see me working through it. Okay, so again we have a point and the slope, so we're going to start in point-slope form. So it's going to be y minus 5 equals -3, and then x minus 2. Get rid of the parentheses by distributing -3. So y minus 5 equals -3x. And what's -3 times -2? It's going to be a positive 6. Next step would be to isolate the y. So we have to subtract 5, we're going to add 5. So that leaves y, the 5's cancel, equal -3x. And then positive 6 and positive 5 is positive 11. And then the last step again would be to take the x term and put it over on the left side. If it's negative on the right side, it will be positive on the left side. So it will be positive 3x, and this is a positive y, so we would put plus y equals, and then what's left on the right side after I move the -3x would be 11. Okay? If you want to pause it again and try this one. Point, slope, so we go y minus 6 equals 2, and then x minus a minus 4 is plus 4. Distribute the 2. Y minus 6 equals 2x plus 8. Add 6 to get y by itself. I'm going to get it in slope-intercept form. So y equals 2x. 8 and 6 make 14. And what's my next step would be to take this 2x and put it over here. Now, the first two problems we did, it was a negative x. This is a positive x. So when I move it to the left side, it's going to be negative 2x. We have a positive y. And then what's left on the right side now would just be 14. Now if we go all the way back up here to what I said was, what I say about a. A will be positive. Okay, so the x term, or ax will be positive. So is ax positive here? It is not. Okay, so all you have to do is if when you're done and you see the x term is negative, you're not quite done, just change them all. Whatever the signs are, make them the opposite. I don't care if y is negative. I don't care if 14 is negative. The x term needs to be positive. So if it was negative 2x, it becomes positive 2x. Positive y becomes negative y. And positive 14 becomes negative 14. Okay, so just that last step, we to go through and multiply by negative 1, or just change all the signs and doing the same thing. Our example 2 is they're not giving me the slope, they're just giving me 2 points. So when they just give you 2 points, I need to find the slope. So we will use the slope formula where it's y minus y over x minus x. So I've got 0 minus 5 on top, and on the bottom I've got 2 minus 0. Okay, so 0 minus 5 is negative 5, and 2 minus 0 is 2. So my slope is negative 5 halves. So we're going to substitute negative 5 halves for m. Now this is a little different problem than what you'll see for the most part, because they show me that one of the points is 0, 5. That's telling me what the y-intercept is. That's telling me what the b is. So 0, 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's that point right there, which is, if this line goes through that point, then that means that's the y-intercept. So we would substitute 5 in for b. Okay, so in this case, I don't have to put it in point slope form because one of the points is actually will tell me what b is. It's 5. Now, most of the problems you'll do in the assignment, that's not going to be the case. You're going to have to go to point slope form, and there'll be an example. We'll do that here in a second. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put negative 5 halves in for the m, the slope, and then positive 5 in for b. So now we have a fraction. Okay, we can't have fraction and have it be in standard form. So I remember I said you were going to have fractions. You're just going to have to get rid of them. To get rid of fractions, we see what the denominator is. And the denominator is the bottom number. The bottom number here is 2. Okay, so whatever the denominator is, I'm going to multiply everything by 2. Okay, so it's going to look like this. I may skip a line what they're using. I'm going to multiply everything by 2. So what's 2 times y? 2y. Now, 2 times negative 5 halves x, the reason you multiply by 2 is because what happens to this 2 is it cancels with that 2. Now, I'm not going to cross that 2 out because I'm not quite done with it. I'm going to multiply it times the 5 also. But this 2 and that 2 cancel. And what does that leave? Negative 5x. Now, 2 times positive 5 over here is going to be positive 10. Okay, so we're at 2y equals negative 5x plus 10. Now, to get myself in standard form, I would take the negative 5x, move it over here. So it would be positive on the left because it's negative, so it's going to be a positive 5x, positive 2y equals 10. Okay, so now for these checkpoints, again, this is one where it's not like the example. They're not telling me what the y-intercept is. So we're going to have to use the 2 points they show me, and we will find the slope. Okay, so take this problem, put it here so we have room. It's going to be m equals 7 minus 1 on top, and then 3 minus 3 on the bottom. Okay, so 7 minus 1 is 6. What's 3 minus 3? Okay, so is it okay to have 0 on the bottom? It is not. Okay, so if 0 is on the bottom, that means the slope, and hopefully we're remembering this, the slope is undefined. What kind of lines have undefined slopes? Well, everybody in the room said vertical. And what kind of equations give me vertical lines? All right, so in this case, these are easier because I don't have to do all the work. If I see that the slope is undefined, all I have to do is look what the x's are. What are the x? 3 and 3. So the equation of this line is x equals 3, and we're done. Okay, that's a nice one. When I can see that the x's are the same, I know it's going to be a vertical line, x equals 3. Now that's in standard form, that's in slope-intercept form, that's in whatever form you want to call it. If it's just x, you get the x by itself and you're done. Okay, number 4 here is not going to be that way. Let's take this out, give ourselves a little room. So here, we can do 4 here. M is -4 minus 3, and then -2 minus 5. So -4 and -3 is -7, and -2 and -5 is also -7. So -7 over -7 reduces to 1. So my slope is 1. Now it does not matter which point I use. I can use the first one or the second one. I'm just going to use the first one because it comes first. I'm going to take this M and that x and y and put it in point slope form. So it would be y minus a -4 equals the slope 1, and then x minus a -2. Okay, so we distribute the 1. Go ahead and get y by itself, so we're going to subtract 4. So y equals x, +2 and -4 is -2. Now that's in slope-intercept form. How do we get it in standard form? We're going to take this x that's positive, and we're going to subtract it, and it'll end up over there. So positive x on the right ends up negative x on the left. We have a positive y, and what's left over here is -2. Okay, so my x is negative. We can't have that. What's the last step? Go through and change all the signs. So it's going to be a positive x and a negative y, and then a +2. Okay, now I want you to pause the video. Try this one. Here's my steps. I'm going to find the slope. Pick one of the first point in the slope, put it in point slope form. Get rid of the parentheses. Isolate the y, and then move the x. Okay? I'm going to erase this here, so give myself a little room. Okay, so the first thing we do here is we find the slope. 8 minus a -2 is +2. And then -1 minus 2. So 8 and 2 is 10. -1 and -2 make -3. So my slope is going to be a fraction. Eventually we're going to have to get rid of this fraction. Okay, my slope is going to be -10/3. Okay, so I'm going to use the first point. So it'll be y minus 8. -10/3 times x minus a -1 is +1. Okay, next step would be to distribute the slope, get rid of the parentheses. So y minus 8 equals -10/3 times x is just -10/3 x, and then -10/3 times 1 is just -10/3. Okay, at this point right now we're going to get rid of the fractions, so I need to get rid of thirds. So we multiply everything in there, not just the fractions, everything by 3. So that gives me 3y, 3 times 8 is -24, and when you multiply 3 times thirds, the thirds cancel. So it leaves -10 times x, which is -10x, and then -10. Okay, no more fractions, that's awesome. Let's move the 24 over. Okay, so 3y equals -10x. -10 and 24 is +14. And last step, to take the x and put it in front here. It's negative on this side, so it's going to be positive over here. It'll be +10x. That's a +3y. That equals 14. Okay, standard form, ax plus by equals c. All right, example 3, now this is the easiest part of the assignment. This is stuff we already know. It says write the standard form of an equation of the line. Okay, so here's the line here, the horizontal line, and then the vertical line. Now, this is stuff we already know. We already talked, let's do the x first, or the vertical since we already talked about that. Vertical lines are x equations. Okay, what is the x equation here? You can read that, 4, 2. So what's the equation of the line? X equals 4. Simple. Okay. Horizontal lines are y graphs. So all I have to do is look to see what the y is, and the y is -2. So the equation of the line is y equals -2. There's no arithmetic, there's no getting rid of the parentheses, there's no point slope form, there's none of that. If it's vertical, look and see what the x is, x equals that number. If it's horizontal, see what the y is, it's y equals that number. Okay, piece of cake. All right, so in summary here, here's the equations of our the equations of lines that we've learned. Slope-intercept form is point-slope form is y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. A vertical line is going to be x equals, and sometimes they say a or b, it doesn't matter, x equals what the number is. Horizontal lines are y equals. And then standard form is ax plus by equals c. Okay, and we'll put the conditions on there. No fractions or decimals. And then a must be positive. Okay, that's it for 5.4.